Lovely, thank you. Hello, everybody. I'm just going to be really slow with this. Sorry, for as much as I am a digital person, I don't use this an awful lot, so apologies. Let me know when you can see my screen. Sorry, I'm going to close all the beepy ones down here. Can you see my screen? Just give me a thumbs up.
Yeah, we can see your PowerPoint, but can you put it in the slideshow maybe?
Yeah, no, just making sure you can see it first.
Yeah, we can see, yeah, lovely.
Okay. So, welcome everybody. I'm not too sure of all of your roles, but I presume by virtue of the fact that you're on this call that you have an involvement in your club from a digital or a social media perspective. So, just to give you a little bit of context as to who I am, I'm Lisa, the digital content manager in the GAA. So my remit covers all of the official GAA channels, as well as, I guess, being a point of contact for provinces, counties and clubs when it comes to anything to do with digital. Also, the GAA Now platform comes under my remit as well. So myself and Noel Quinn, the digital rights manager, look after that. I've been in the GAA since 2014 and I am still here, albeit in Blackrock as opposed to Crow Park today. So look, going forward for the next few slides, I want to keep it as relaxed as possible because nobody wants to be preached to on a Wednesday night. So I'm going to go through the slides pretty quickly. I know there's some questions that have already come in. I've addressed them at the end, but then I want to leave as much time as possible for us to just have a chat. So social media in my club. So look, we're years into this now. Social media does not come as a surprise or as something that's overly new to anybody. Whether or not you have extensive experience of using it is one thing, but we use it a lot personally, and therefore it always made sense for sports particularly to delve into that world and to be where the people are. From a club perspective, it plays a role for you when you're telling the story of your club. So what I mean by telling the story is what's going on, what's happening day in, day out, week in, week out, etc. It's your shop window in a way. So a lot of the time, you know, it's the first thing that people will see about your club. So how you present it, how you allow it to be presented, etc., is very, very important. Social media is great, obviously, for informing and updating your members and your community on what's happening, and of course then for engaging with your members and your community. So it's not always one-way communication. Engaging communication, making two-way conversation is really important for you on social media. So why is social, as well as all of the other elements around digital, so important? We know that sports fans, regardless of their sport, are some of the most engaged people online. You know, it's one of the most controversial topics of a Sunday or any day that there's anything happening. Social media lights up when there's sport. When there's live sport in particular, which we don't have at the moment, but we can also see social media lights up when there's any sort of chatter around social or around sport. When you are online representing or speaking on behalf of an entity, i.e. your club, it brings a lot of responsibility. So you have to take off your club colours to an extent, or maybe take off any sort of local or political divisions that might exist, and you have to speak pretty impartially. Not that you can't be supportive of your club, which is something that we don't get to do as the official accounts, but you do have to have that tone of balance regardless of what you're posting. And then, of course, at the moment, there's no doubt that the GA community is very, very central to people's lives. It's something that, you know, in the absence of actual live activity, being able to get down to clubs, being able to do an awful lot, we do have a really crucial role in our communities, and to offer, I guess, some reprieve in a way. So you might have noticed across the GA channels, the official GA channels, while we have been helping the HSE to spread the good word around protecting ourselves and our families, etc., against COVID, we've also been trying to find ways to bring lighter content to people, things to break up their days, things to make, you know, Monday not feel like Wednesday, not feel like Friday, etc. And there's a role for everybody in that as well. So the official GA accounts, provinces, counties and clubs, and the same goes for handball as well. There's a role for everybody just to kind of find some ways to, you know, break up people's days, break up their feeds from only seeing negative news stories, etc. So social is growing all of the time. There's new channels that pop up, they pop down, they come, you know, some of them increase in popularity, then they disappear for a while, they might come back and think it's Snapchat. But where we as the GAA are, from an official point of view, and what I always advise provinces and counties and clubs to do is only to replicate where we are, because I think that when you are on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram, you're covering all the bases in terms of the demographics. So you're getting an older cohort and a younger cohort as well. So there's no point in being in a lot, like, for instance, we would have had a Snapchat account from the official GA channels, but we retired that because we realized that Instagram and Snapchat had a very similar audience. So it didn't make sense to be duplicating content. Naturally, when you're a club, you don't have capacity to be able to create content and to support a million different channels. So when you look to Facebook, and I think every club has a Facebook page, it's a great kind of wide-reaching account, because I know somebody actually had sent in a question saying, is it only the technophobes who are on Facebook? No, that's not the case at all. There's a lot of people who are on Facebook, but how, I guess, they've interacted with Facebook or how they now interact has changed. So, you know, we all used to be very, very busy, constantly updating our own pages, whereas now we tend as individuals to sit back a little bit and wait to see what other, I guess, more official accounts have to say, and that's where the club comes into play. Facebook is more and more focused on video content, so it likes when you post videos. Not that it doesn't like when you do other things as well, but particularly they themselves are moving. I'm sure everybody's heard the word algorithm, and whatever algorithm means, it's what essentially decides what they want and what they let your followers see. So they favor video, but like I said, they also allow plenty of other content as well. So it's great for sharing, and it's great for getting a bit of a reaction as well. So when the club posts something, you'll get a bit of a flow in the comment section. So people are waiting for you to say something on Facebook. And as I said, it's a wide audience. So there's a legacy audience there from when Facebook was set up, and a lot of people obviously in the meantime have created Facebook accounts. You're probably just not going to get your, 14-year-old there. Twitter is definitely an account for the news lovers. So it's for the people who like to see what's going on all the time. For a sports fan, what that is it's a live scenario. It's how you can follow games as they happen, as they unfold. Instagram is obviously a picture tells 1,000 words. It's all about photos. It's all about video. And it's also very much about behind the scenes. So Instagram stories is a great way to give people an opportunity to have that in the moment kind of a feel, despite the fact they might not be anywhere near you. So we would use that on match days and for any of the coverage that you can't get anywhere else. So nothing that happens on TV really appears on our Instagram account and on our stories section. What we do is we show people what they can't see elsewhere. And you can absolutely roll that down to a club scenario, to, you know, training sessions, reaction after training sessions, reaction after games, reactions after wins, and then any other club events that are on as well. You know, it's a nice way for people to get to see something that they might not already be at. Obviously thinking of your international community there as well. It's definitely a younger demographic, of course, than Facebook and Twitter. Maybe testament to the fact that people don't really like to read anymore, so there's a lot less words on Instagram. But having said all of that, don't forget your website. So a lot of people are very, very, very focused on social media and keeping their Facebook page updated with news of fundraisers or whatever, and that's all great. Yes, social has a fabulous part to play in your online identity, but if Facebook disappeared tomorrow, what would you lose? If Twitter disappeared along with it, and if Instagram no longer existed, what would you lose? Whereas if you have your website fully updated all the time, that you use your website as your core platform, you own that. You can control that. You can ensure that that never disappears, that doesn't change, or it doesn't go behind a paywall. You have full control of it. So as much as, yes, we're always and increasingly focused on social media, please do bear in mind your websites. So content. What's content? You hear that word being said and you think maybe it's something elusive, but it's not. Content is anything that you post. So it's photos, it's videos, it's updates, it's news stories, it's something that you've posted on your website that you put across onto your social media platforms. That's all content. Content can be something that you have created yourself. So a photo you've taken, a video you've taken, an article you've written yourself. It can be something that's shared, something that's come from the handball national accounts, something that's come from the GA accounts, or it could be something that's user generated. So you might ask people to send you something. Send us a picture from the sideline, send us a picture from this, send us a picture. That's user generated content. So they might all sound highfalutin, but they're not. It's just the stuff. It's just the stuff that happens around you. That's all content. So as I said, where can you find it? Everywhere, everywhere you look. And there is no shame, let's say, in sharing content from other channels, sharing it from newspapers. If there's a good news story in your local paper, post it on your Facebook page, post it on your Instagram account, or maybe not so much your Instagram account, but your Twitter account. There's content everywhere. So what's good content? What resonates with people? You know, so real life, real faces, and behind the scenes. That's what we find works best for us. It's not always about the superstars. It's not always about the winners. It's not always about the shiny things. It's about the real. And across the board on social media, there's a definite increase in people engaging with stuff that makes them feel like they're part of it, or that they could be part of it, as opposed to it being, as I said, about the superstars. Good content's clear, it's simple, it's straightforward. You know, what you see is what you get. It speaks to people and leaves a lasting impact. So, you know, ideally you want people to go on and talk about your content after they've looked at it. Will it be something that they'll want to share in a group, or will it be something that they'll talk about when they're sitting in the clubhouse having a drink after COVID? You know, is it something that is going to stir something more in people other than something they just glance past? And content doesn't have to be professionally created. So it's not about, as I said, the shiny. People have really moved on from that because they're so used to seeing user-generated things. They're used to seeing selfies. They're used to seeing videos and different things. And particularly on Instagram, so much of what's posted is just posted by the average person in a simple way. So that's what they're used to seeing. And that's all you need to worry about providing. There's a little piece at the end around apps, but there's plenty of apps out there that are free or really cheap that you can get and you can download, and you can create graphics from your phone. You can make sure that they're in your club colors. You can do an awful lot from them. They're easy to use, and as I said, that idea of getting, you know, your club colors and a consistency, applying your club crest to certain things, that gives it that more professional touch. But as I said, it can be done off your mobile phone. So something obviously that comes up a lot is, you know, managing your social media, and what do I do if someone says this, or should I remove that? And they're all absolutely relevant questions that come to and cross my path every single day on our own pages, and we get questions on them all the time. As I'm sure you'll have noticed from managing your own pages, negative commentary and feedback generally comes in thicker and faster than praise. Definitely on the GA accounts, that's the case. So people are very ready to rise up behind their Twitter handles or behind their online names and make comments. Moderation tools from the platforms are not always enough. So within Facebook, for instance, you can create lists of profanities. So as soon as somebody posts one of those, a comment with one of those words, it's automatically removed. But you know, you don't have to use a profanity to say something offensive. So you do have to be aware and monitoring your pages regularly, or have a team of people who do it. Of course, though, over moderation will be noticed. So unless something that is genuinely hurtful or very negative or direct around a person or defamatory is posted, you know, allow a little bit of people to have their opinion. But obviously nothing that's going to cause severe offence or difficulty within a club situation. Don't go local. So as I said at the start, you know, you do, when you're managing accounts, have to be that bit more independent than if you were, for instance, on the other side and making comments and you know, engaging with the page as a member as opposed to an administrator. So if and maybe when there's any sort of like local issues within a club, or you know, a split down the middle of a club, your social media accounts are not what become part of any sort of difficulties. They need to stay very much separate away, and you as an administrator or your team of administrators need to make sure that they're not in any way using the accounts to voice sides of an argument or anything like that. You as an administrator, and if you have a number of people who are administrators on pages, are the voice of GA handball nationally, not just at club level. So you are representative of the national entity, and also of the GAA nationally as well. So think before you post. Anyone who is an administrator for a club social account needs to make sure that they have read and are familiar with and understand the GA social media policy and guidelines. And after this, like, I'll circulate a copy of those guidelines as well as a go-to guide, which you'll see answer a lot of questions that you might already have, but they are very important to understand. And if your team of administrators changes at all, please do make sure that they are familiar with and have read these guidelines. It's not a long document. It's very easy to consume and to understand, but they are very important. So, as I said, creating your own content is increasingly easier and cheaper to do. There's loads of apps out there that will allow you to create your own content, graphics, add effects to photos, add movement, etc. there's different options depending on the time that you have available and obviously the skills that you have. So, you know, it makes sense that someone who's a graphic designer and happens to be their club Instagram account holder or account administrator is going to be able to do something a lot more slick than someone who's not. So a PRO that is also a school teacher and doesn't use these tools every day of the week, and that's okay. That's absolutely fine. You will find that, say for instance, the likes of Instagram, within the stories element of it, you can add effects and text and movement to photos without doing anything else, and you can download from within Instagram and use them across the platforms. So you can use one platform to benefit all of your others. One that we use a lot is Canva. So that is, it's a free app. There's a paid version, but you can do plenty within the free version. And what that allows you to do is add graphics, add a nice look and feel to posts that you might be doing. For instance, if you've got a fundraiser, you can create a little promotional post with the information on it, and you can do that all off your phone or on the desktop version too, but it is possible to do it off your phone. And then another app that we will sometimes use is Pick, Play, Post. And what that allows you to do is to mix photos and videos, and it's really useful for using for Instagram stories. So for instance, you know, if you have a match and you have a clip from it and you have the score and you have the club crests, you can make something cool out of that. So you could have at the top of the post Club X versus Club Y, the score down on the right hand side, and a little highlights clip or a little picture of a cup lift, for instance, at the end of it as well. So there's lots that you can do within that to, again, as I said, create something that looks like it's a lot more professionally done than it actually is. Nobody has to know either. So that's a whistle-stop tour through the kind of more formal stuff. A lot of you have sent in questions, so I think it's from looking at what the questions were, it's more important to spend time on them, and we should have time at the end then to open up as well to anything else that there is. So someone asked about an easy way of editing clips from games and adding music to them. The best thing that you can use that's already on your phone is iMovie. It's a great way to start doing it, and it's very, very easy to use, and it's what we, on a lot of the stuff that we do, it's the app that we use to do it. So you don't really need to go much further than iMovie. So controlling your page when you've got multiple admins. I think the key thing around accounts is that we used to always preach that only one person had control of everything on social, and that's just not feasible anymore. There's too many accounts, there's too much going on, there's too much reliance on stuff to be posted on social. So having a small team of trusted people is key. Making sure that obviously they know their social media guidelines, but they also know their roles and their remits within each of the accounts. And scheduling makes a lot of sense too. So if you within the club executive, for instance, decide that, right, this week or this month, these are the things that we want to put up on Instagram. We've got a fundraiser, there's a tournament coming up, and there's also going to be a summer camp. How are we going to split our social media channels to support all of them? What channels will be used for what? Does it make sense to talk about the club fundraiser on Instagram? Probably not. Does it make sense to do it on Facebook? Yes, because the people that will be coming to the fundraiser are more likely to be on Facebook than on Instagram. So putting a little bit of thought and splitting out the jobs definitely helps around that. Keeping tabs on your admins doesn't just mean making sure that they're posting the right thing, but if somebody decides that they don't want to be an admin anymore, make sure that you remove them from a page, or if it's the likes of Instagram, that the account password is changed. And just in general, make sure that passwords are changed regularly as well. So Every 3 months would be ideal. There's no point in saying every month or every week because that's not feasible, but every 3 months is a good marker. And of course, then if an admin changes. What's the best way to promote your club on a social media platform, and what platform should you use? So, as I said earlier, each platform is different. I'd recommend that if you want to have a presence across multiple platforms and speak to multiple cohorts of people, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram will tick those boxes for you, because each channel has a different role and it speaks to a different audience. The best strategy for getting it right on all of those channels is saying the right thing in the right place. So think about speaking to a child versus speaking to an adult. You'll have a different tone. You might say something in a more detailed way to an adult than you would to a child, or think of different newspapers. So the Irish Times will report on an article differently than the Sun or the Star will. And that's a little bit about how you have to think about your social channels. So if you're speaking to different types of people who consume their information differently, you need to post it differently in different places. So Twitter needs to be snappy, concise, short and sharp. Facebook, you've got more time and more space to be that bit more elaborate of what you're saying. And then with Instagram, it's about the visual. So not so much about the post, but about the visual. And I think if you get those things right, each of your individual accounts will really stand on its own 2 feet. If you have pages that can stand on their own 2 feet, it obviously makes it look like you've got your SH1T together from a club perspective, and that creates a positive shop window, as we said at the beginning. GDPR rules around putting up photos on social media. So this is a little bit of a cross remit between our children's officer, Garode, who I believe is speaking to you maybe next week, and Kelly Cunningham, our data protection officer. But from a social perspective, what it really will come down to is if the pictures are of adults, consenting adults, or children who can't consent for themselves and need their parents to do that. When it comes to an adult, as long as people know that their pictures are being taken and where they're going to be used, that's okay. When it comes to children, it's a little bit trickier. So you need to have that permission from their parents, which can come through their membership form, for instance. But also you need to make sure that you're not publishing too much. And by too much, I mean that you are only publishing very little personal information about the children. So not posting what school that they go to or posting pictures of children individually would be key things. But all of the information on that I'll provide to you within a go-to guide within our social media guidelines. That can be your reference point for what should you post and what should you not post. However, if you're ever in doubt, just don't post it. There is nothing that will, the world won't fall down because you have not posted one individual picture that you weren't sure of, but it certainly could if you do post it. So always err on the side of caution when it comes to posting pictures of individuals, but particularly of children. What form of social media is the best to use when contacting parents and kids with respect to GDPR? None. Very, very simple answer. Social media should never be used to contact anybody. You cannot contact children under the age of 18 under GAA rule. The law of the land is under 16, so that's the digital age of consent is 16, but when it comes to GAA rule, it's 18. So take a look at the social media guidelines. There was a lot of talk about it from a GA perspective a number of months ago, so there's a lot of information on the GA website about it. I'll share more with you now, but currently email and text are the only compliant ways that you can communicate with parents and over 18s. When the GA app functionality, the new communications functionality is extended. There will be two-way communications within the GA app only at the moment. There is one-way communication, but if you need to have correspondence, you can't do it within the app yet. This is the page I am referring to within our social media guidelines. So this is everything that you need to know around direct messaging. I'll share that full document with you, but this is the page that is your reference point. Can comments, etc. be set up to only show the last 12 months, and can contributors choose to remove their posts? So 12 months of posts should be a long time down your list. So I don't really know why you'd want to set that up, but it's not possible. As long as you administrate properly and you keep an eye on things, you look out for updates to older comments, I guess, as well. Maybe you have something specific in mind, but as long as you do that, you should be pretty okay. And obviously the person who, not obviously, sorry, that's the question, the person who has posted something, so if they've commented on it on a club post, that they themselves can remove it, but so can any of the page admins as well. Is social media an effective means of recruiting new members? So a very diplomatic response to this here is social media allows you to create a positive public front for your club, which may influence a person's decision to join. That is my most politically correct response to that. So look, your Facebook page isn't going to make, your page alone is not going to make someone want to join your club. However, if you are putting up cool stuff on your page and I'm a non-member and I click onto it and I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool, I might go down to that club and have a look, then your page has worked to recruit. But it in its own right isn't a recruiting tool. It's part of it. Okay, how do you get a balance between respecting members' privacy and promoting the club? There should be no question of conflict here. By members' privacy, if you mean GDPR, it comes back to consent. So as long as a person knows, for instance, that you are taking a picture of them to put up on the club page, that is fine. However, you wouldn't, for instance, go to their own personal Facebook page and take a picture of them and post it on the page. That would not be right. So as long as anything that you are using from a personal perspective from a member has been given to you consensually, or that you have requested from them, and you want to use that in a promotional capacity, that will be fine. But don't do anything that essentially that an individual who's about to be featured is not going to know about. That's where you get yourself into trouble. What's the official position regarding the use of WhatsApp? So as I alluded to, this came up a while ago, a number of months ago, and I think our position is pretty clear and has been reported as such. We as the GA don't consider that WhatsApp is safe enough to be considered as a viable communications tool. There's a lot of different reasons for that. I'll share all of them with you in a document or in an article, but it is an absolute no-no. There have been, and sadly undoubtedly will continue to be, many issues with WhatsApp and trouble within clubs and content that's been shared into the wrong groups, etc., that will result in and have resulted in legal cases being taken. So steer clear when you're using it from an official club communication perspective. Having said that, if a group within a club wants to use it as a non-official or unofficial friendship group, that's a different story, and we're not saying don't use it for your own personal uses, but in terms of communicating official club business, it is not to be used. And that is all for me for the formal part of everything. I'm not sure if anyone has any questions still, but maybe what's the most, if you want to maybe just drop a message into the chat, I can address.
It can be a quiet bunch, Lisa.
Don't be shy. And of course, if you don't have anything that you can think of now, and I've scared you off with GDPR and not using WhatsApp, that's absolutely fine too. You can drop me an email at any stage with any specific questions that you might have. I will, as I'm waiting for you to think up your questions, I'm going to just drop in the so Greencastle chairperson, yes, there is an app already. The GA app exists. At the moment, it's just one-way functionality or one-way communications functionality. So when that extends out, it will really replicate what WhatsApp does for you. But at the moment, it does exist, but it's one way. So you can talk to people, but they can't respond back to you. Recommended method to communicate with club members. So email, because it's traceable, because it's recorded, is absolutely perfect. Text message, perfect. Obviously you can do broadcasts across your social media accounts, and I'm just reading to you as well. You can do broadcasts across social media as well, but it's a really tricky world that we've been landed in because of GDPR. The GAA did not invent GDPR. I think some people think we did, but we certainly didn't. And it was created essentially to control the likes of Facebook and Google and data that they held on. But because it's the law, it means it applies to everybody. So that's why it's tricky, and that's why we have all found ourselves in a very litigious world, or a world where the litigation now applies to us regardless of what level we're at. An app to post on various platforms in one go, Hootsuite. Hootsuite is what we use, and that will do it for you. Just be careful with always posting the same thing across all your platforms, because it comes back to what I said with the audiences. You know, something might be more suitable to only go on Twitter, and that's okay. And if that's the place for it, leave it there. It doesn't also have to go on Facebook. And the same with Instagram. Just because you post something on Instagram doesn't mean it has to go on Facebook too. So don't feel that unless you're posting loads of stuff in loads of places that you're not succeeding. That it might actually have the opposite effect. Yes, a club's Facebook page can be converted to a business page. I will direct you to where the steps to go through are on Facebook, but there's a kind of step-by-step guide within the Facebook platform, and that will take you through it. In case people don't realize, you should never have a club set up as like a friend page. It should be set up as a business page, just to keep you safe, to stop people being able to comment or to post directly onto your page, etc. You need to have greater control. So that's an important thing to do. So I will share that link with you all, so that if you are in a situation where you've got a personal page set up for your club, that you can very easily make the transition. I've also just added the direct messaging page that's separate to the chat within the meeting here as well, so that will be up for you now. Any other questions?
I that could be it, Lisa.
Cool.
Nobody else?
As I said, drop me a mail anytime because that's what I'm here for. If you have anything, you're very welcome, Brita.
Okay, folks, I suppose I want to thank Lisa very much for an excellent presentation this evening. I think everybody has learned plenty, and I suppose we probably only touched the tip of the iceberg with social media. And we'll be doing a wee bit more with social media as we continue, because it's a hugely important part of our clubs at the minute. So, Lisa, thank you very much. And keep moving on, folks. Next week, we're